Lewis was the gentleman who engaged the service of Lieutenant Clark. That was his choice.
He goes to D.C. To confer with Jefferson, writes a letter to Clark at that same time and says, I got approved for this expedition. The material is on its way to Pittsburgh, and I want you to join me as co-leader of the expedition, which Clark does accept.
Lewis was ready to go. In fact, by the 8th of July, he is in Harper's Ferry picking up everything.
And he was also test firing all his rifles, we believe, over the Potomac, and he's very positive about the results and just getting ready to load everything up and get out of here.
He gets his collapsible iron boat, puts them all on a wagon, and they go up to Pittsburgh. And for the next 6 weeks, he spends up there figuring out how to get a barge built. It was big, 55 feet long, so definitely large. Could hold a lot of tonnage, I think up to about 20 tons. He doesn't leave Pittsburgh until August 31st.
In 1803, it was the start of the expedition. We feel that it was the original start of the expedition that started.
It actually now officially begins in Pittsburgh, and it goes all around the Ohio River in Indiana.
In the 18th, 19th century, European scientists sort of thought of the American climate and the American wilderness as degenerating animals and making animals smaller. It's this sort of dig at America.
The French naturalist to the King of France, Buffon was his name, actually wrote a paper that said there was nothing of significance in the New World. Everything was the petite, the plants, animals, the indigenous people. They were all not of any real significance. So if you're Thomas Jefferson, you're going to go, what?
But he knows about these larger animals that were there before with these very large bones, and he wants to study these bones in order to counter these European scientists like Buffon, who are making these claims that America is a wet and degenerate place for a society to grow.
Lewis got off at Cincinnati and contacted a local physician who was to act as his guide, Dr. Goforth. And Dr. Goforth brought him out with a team to this area. They came overland and collected bones at Thomas Jefferson's request.
They did a small dig. They put all those bones on the barges and sent them downriver.
Meriwether Lewis departs from Big Bone Lick and rejoins the keelboat on the Ohio River. The team continues until they arrive at the falls of the Ohio River at Louisville, Kentucky. This is where William Clark joins the Corps of Discovery.
Stephen Ambrose said when they shook hands, the Lewis and Clark expedition began.
William Clark brings with him his house servant or slave, York.
The York story is a fascinating one because he is the only African American on the journey. He is not a free man. He is William Clark's slave.
York grew up with William Clark. Probably around the age of 5, they were paired together.
The interesting thing about York is that once he becomes a member of the expedition party, he's still a slave, technically, but he has much more freedom, if you will, within that environment.
York carried a gun through this whole thing. There was no segregation as far as sleeping quarters. York slept right with the men. There was nothing like that. We have no hint of any type of racial problems at all with York.
Once Lewis and Clark come together in Louisville, they have orders to recruit men from where the military posts were at the time.
When he comes downriver, he's checking out all the forts. He's asking these commanders, do you got any men that want to go west with me? And basically, do you got any men that are loose cannons, I guess, just you don't want to deal with, but I can deal with, I'll take them.
Fort Massac, they recruit men from there. They recruit people from Fort Kaskaskia. To use a modern parlance, and some people might understand, this is in some ways potentially the dirty dozen. They are not all exemplary soldiers. Some of them were fantastic.
As they traveled down the river, the Ohio River, they were traveling at a pretty good, sometimes 20 miles a day. But when they made the turn and went up the Mississippi, they're doing 9 miles a day.
The moment they hit the Ohio River and the Mississippi River confluence, it's at that point they're going to go upstream for the next 2 years. You're going to be pulling, pushing, rowing 30 tons of cargo over the 3 boats, over all of that terrain. It was always intended that Cahokia would be a destination. In fact, when they leave Fort Kaskaskia, Clark encourages Lewis to travel by horseback, so he arrives the day before, on December 6th, before the boats arrive on the 7th. And the intent was, again, to get him an early start to get over across the river to meet the Spanish lieutenant governor. And so when he approaches De La Salle in December of 1803, he's requesting permission to move farther up the Missouri. De La Salle denies that request and says, look, I've got to verify the credentials. I've got to verify that, in fact, this purchase has taken place. I won't allow you to cross the river. And so Lewis is denied even that head start at that point. And so he's forced to stay at the confluence of the two rivers, the Mississippi and Missouri River.
For more information or to become involved with the Lewis and Clark Trail Alliance, visit lewisandclark.org. To learn more about Shenandoah University and the Shenandoah Center for Immersive Learning, visit su.edu/skill.